Hello, everybody. Happy April 15th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And today we have a special guest, the assistant coach from Conn College, which stands for the Connecticut College, the mascot of the Camels. It is Corey Begley. Coach Begley, thanks so much for being able to come on.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Love the camel shout out.
I have to. I mean, I've done the last 2 years being able to broadcast with NSN, the Northeast Sports Network. I've almost become like the Connecticut College Camels broadcaster because I've done a majority of the games.
You're always there. So
I know.
We love it.
Oh, I love it too, and I really appreciate everything you did this past season with lineups, rosters, some players info, both from you and Coach Sweeney. It really meant a lot.
Yeah, and we really appreciate your support, and the games were great to listen to after, too. So
I really appreciate that. But let's talk about you, because the interview is about you. Your first year, because this past season was your first year as an assistant coach with Conn. And with the quarantine being the way it is, and basically everyone has enough free time plus, you're kind of allowed now to be able to reflect on maybe other times in past years where you would not be able to. So what was your feeling and what were kind of your reflections from last season?
Yeah, I think that's naturally it's a time to do that, especially for coaches and really any profession. But I joined Coach Sweeney, who's probably one of the better coaches in Division III. Joined him in the summer, and I was lucky to do that. So jumped in right with Tim, and we got into it at Conn. Obviously, it was a big challenge, and we're trying to get the program back to where it was in 2000, where they're actually number one in the country. So the attractive part about the team and the school is that they have that great history, and we play in probably in the best Division III league. So obviously the win-loss record didn't reflect what we were trying to do, but I don't think it's not always about that, especially when you're starting fresh. And I think the guys we have coming back and the efforts from the seniors and just Coach Sweeney's leadership, I think everyone in the state will start to see progress, and the Camels will be on the march per se here soon. So a lot of good things went into the season, and a lot of challenges too.
And you talk about some of those players returning, but also the challenges of just what was a tough season. Before we get into the players, describe what were some of the challenges, both for you, but also the coaching staff, because for all three of you, you were all new to the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when you jump a level, and certainly we did into the NESCAC, it's definitely an adjustment. And the league, everyone who knows New England basketball, the league is some of the better coaches and players who turn down scholarships to play at this level. So not only adjusting to the league, but also trying to figure out our style of play and meshing a whole new team together. And I think by the end, we really started to do that. And there were some really tough losses where I think we had 3 or 4 games going to overtime, and one we lost right at the very end. But yeah, those were just some of the day-to-day challenges. But I think we saw, in coach speak, we saw great growth from our guys. And Coach Sweeney always preaches the importance of looking in the mirror. So we're also looking in the mirror and seeing what we can improve on as coaches and individuals. So.
And I love how you keep talking about the growth of you, the growth of the coaching staff and the players. But with that growth, we saw a couple freshmen really kind of show up for the Connecticut College Camels last season, Ben McPherson and Chris Toey.
Both are really hard workers, and we couldn't be more proud of those guys. I think Ben finished first in Division III actually in free throw percentage, so he was at over 95, 96%. And Chris really showed some great signs defensively too. He really guarded well in both of our defenses, and we think both those guys are key next year and down the road. Ben was right up there for Rookie of the Year as well in the league, which we thought he could have won that, but I know he has big goals too for his final 3 years here. So yeah.
And on a side note, Connecticut College, although maybe the record was not what everybody wanted, one thing that the Camels were good at was shooting free throws. I think you guys were number 1 in the NESCAC, maybe number 2. I don't quite remember, but I know you were amongst the top. for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we got there a lot, and hopefully we can back that up to the 3-point line this year. So we struggle a little bit from downtown, but yeah. So our guys did make the free throws, especially late in some of our closer games, which is good to see. So.
And speaking of players who can shoot from downtown, I'm talking about the big guys, Daniel Draffin and Jeff Allen.
I think, Chris, both guys are unique players. They're very well regarded at their positions. Dan's really exciting when he gets downhill, and Jeff is unique. He was a transfer. And he's a great passer. So if you watch closely, I know you did, you can find the open man, and he really makes the offense go. And we're really excited about both the guys for next year. I think they're both ready to have a great senior year and prove something.
It really kind of seemed like to me, speaking with Allen in particular, the transfer, maybe because this was the first year being able to see him and not being able to see him play last year and not being able to see how he would have done with the Conn team last year, 2 years ago, before you came along. But it seemed like he kind of gave the Camels that, I don't want to say a vicious, because I don't think that's the right word, but an imposing, a dominating paint player almost, where whenever the ball was near the rim on the defensive side, he would pull it down because he's such a, I mean, let's be honest, he has a big body. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he would say that too. Yeah, I think he had to adjust from different leagues. Like he played in the NE10 where there's not as many traditional bigs, and although Jeff's not a traditional center, he's a big body and he does his work inside, and I think he adjusted really well to league play. And some of his best play was against other NESCAC teams, and yeah, we love what he brings, and I think he's going to have a really big senior year. So,
was there one player in particular that maybe you guys felt like in the beginning, maybe during training camp, before the season started and such, where you guys felt, okay, maybe this player may take a year plus to kind of get things going, but then at the end of the season, you guys were like, oh, wow, this is a surprise. He's doing better than what we thought. Was there a player like that?
Yeah, I'll give you two. Okay. So we'll give the people what they want here.
I like that.
One is our big man Ryan Omsler. So he was out for the season, and he was trying to play this year at like 40%. He's a really tough kid, but he's going to be back and healthy, and he's 7 feet tall and had a really nice freshman campaign for the coaches who were here previously, and we think Ryan has a lot of potential. But the guy who played the whole year was a guy named Austin Lavitt, who really grew into a role. In the beginning, the playing time wasn't consistent, but he just kept working at it and ended up playing some really key minutes against Hamilton and Amherst, where he's a good shooter. He really listens. He's 6'3". So those two guys both going to be back, and we're excited about them as well. I think they'll see the floor more, and they're all the way in and really want to turn this around. So those are two guys who can certainly help us.
And there's definitely the pieces for Conn to be able to do that. We mentioned a lot of very good players. You also have some recruits coming in, some others that maybe you're waiting to hear back from, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Just like with this virus, there will be an end. We will eventually win and defeat this virus. Just like Conn, they'll eventually be able to, there's greener pastures at the end. It's just have to go through the growing pains. But while we have a couple minutes, I want to talk about your playing career with St. Lawrence. You had an opportunity to play in a Sweet 16 NCAA tournament game. All to be able to play advance that far. Is that something that you can share? Maybe not now because obviously the time is not right, but is that something with your wisdom and your basketball knowledge that you could share with this Camels team?
Yeah, I think both Tim and I, Tim played on a Final Four team. So there's that experience of sharing that. And I really think it's the day-to-day. So when you're a player, I remember that team at St. Lawrence, there was two pros on that team. One of my former teammates and friends, his name's Ralph Temgua. He's still playing in France. But you just have to, you come into practice every day, and I remember it just being such a challenge. And that's how, from number one to the 14th guy in the roster, it was just a battle every day. And that doesn't mean we didn't have fun and push each other, but I think it just shows if you get that far, it shows the depth on the roster, because every practice has got to be really, really tight and really competitive in order to get that far. And I do think at our level in Division III, it's not like Division I with the March Madness, but it's the teams. If you get past that first weekend into the Sweet 16, there's just some incredible teams. And I was lucky enough to play on that, but it comes down to what we learned growing up. It's, every practice should be intense, fundamentals, and just learning from the coaching standpoint. I had a great coach. His name's Chris Downs, and he still is at St. Lawrence coaching. And he just had very consistent expectations for us. So it's a lot of things you read, but I think we, as coaches too, we lose track of that throughout this season. And I'm lucky to work for Tim, where he's kept his eye on the prize the whole time, and he really has a vision for the program. So
I have to ask, did any of the players ask him what it was like coaching Steph Curry? Because I mentioned that a few times on the air, where I said, by the way, guys, or ladies and gentlemen, if you people don't know, that coach over there for Conn, yeah, he kind of knows Steph Curry. He coached him before he was Steph Curry. Just saying.
Yeah, some of the guys asked, and I think when you have him on, that might just be the whole 12 minutes.
It might be.
Yeah, so... and he coached Steph and Mike Muscala, who's in the NBA too. So it's, I'm sure that's where a lot of the wisdom comes from. But yeah, I'll let him get into that with you next week. So.
Oh, he's stirring the pot, keeping the secrets to yourself. I like that, Coach Begley. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Thank you for being able to come on, and you're welcome anytime on the show. Anytime.
We'll see if I'm invited back, but I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks, man.
Coach, you're welcome anytime. You're always invited back.
All right, stay safe, and thanks again.
You too. That'll wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So, until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.